Hello everyone, welcome to an evolved weapons guide for vampire survivors, and of course, a couple of little secrets. So, we have, first of all, 9 different evolved weapons. This is for version 0.2.9 of the game. They just added 2 new evolves with the Garlic and the Bird evolutions, Soul Eater and Vandalier. Besides that, I also just wanted to briefly mention something that might help you with your runs, getting all of your unlocks, and that is, if you go into the Inlaid Library map, there are a couple of secrets that you can find. So if you go all the way to the left, there will eventually be a little alcove, and you'll be able to find an empty tome there. So that's the one that reduces your weapons cooldowns by 8%, and then later on, if you get more of them, all of your cooldowns. If you go all the way to the right, similarly, you have a different item. And this one is an unlock that you can only get after you've already found it on the Inlaid Library map. And that is the Stone Mask, where all of your characters earn 10% more coins. Obviously, this one's really useful to help you get all of your power-ups faster and make all of your runs easier from that point on. The other quick thing to mention about both of those items, something really neat that I discovered today, is that you can actually pick those items up and use them even if you've already got your full 6 items. They will just go into overflow and you can level them up normally. So it's very important. Don't grab either the tome or the mask when you're in the library. Wait until you get your 6 passives and then go and pick them up, and then you can make a really powerful build for yourself. Now, let's quickly get into all of the different weapons that you can have. So starting off for the evolved weapons, you're going to have Whip. Now, if you want to evolve the Whip, you're going to need Hollow Heart. Hollow Heart being the plus 10% maximum health. And when you do that, you'll be able to get a whip that deals critical damage and absorbs HP. It's also important to note here that to get any of these evolved weapons, you don't just need the main weapon and whichever item it pairs with the whip and Hollow Heart, you'll also need to get that weapon to its maximum level first, and then find the evolved weapon version inside of a chest, having beaten a mini-boss. Next up, we have the Magic Wand, which with the Empty Tome will evolve into the Holy Wand. The Holy Wand fires without any delay, and so it'll just constantly send out a stream of magic bolts to the closest enemies. In a similar fashion, the Knife upgrade, which goes specifically with the Bracer, will create Thousand Edge, which fires with no delay, just like the Magic Wand, except, of course, the knives fire exactly in front of you, so it's whichever direction you're pointing. Next is the Axe, and the Axe full upgrade pairs with the Candelabra, and that will make the Death Spiral. The Death Spiral is our first weapon that actually changes its attack pattern based on the evolution, and what this one does is instead of the axes going up in the air and then falling, instead they will expand out in a circle around you, dealing damage to every enemy that they pass through. This is one of the most powerful evolved weapons. It's a huge defensive and damage dealer. It's fantastic. Next, we have the Cross, which will combine with Clover to create the Heaven Sword. The Heaven Sword gets to deal critical damage, and it has a much wider attack pattern flying out across the map. The difference is that it does only fire one of them rather than having a bunch of them. It doesn't change any of the Cross's properties either, in that it will fly towards the nearest enemy and then boomerang back towards you and go off-screen, piercing through every enemy on the way. The next weapon that we have is the King Bible, which is the orbit around your character, and this, much like the Axe, is one of the most powerful upgrades. With this, you need to pair it with the Spellbinder, which increases your duration, and when you get that max, you will get Unholy Vespers. And Unholy Vespers means that the King Bible effect never ends, and you will have a constant circle of death around you, killing all your enemies, just ripping through them, at a specific distance outside of you, you'll have that orbital. After that, we have the Fire Wand upgrade, which combines with Spinach to create the Hellfire weapon. And the Hellfire weapon changes the Fire Wand's normal attack. Instead of firing off bouts of flame, it will now fire gigantic meteor fireballs that will pierce through every enemy on their way out of the map. Next, we have the first of our two new evolved weapons, and that is Garlic, which combines with Pomarola to create Soul Eater. Soul Eater will create a gigantic black zone around you where you get a little bit of an easier time to see everything that's near you. At least for me, I've found that one of the biggest advantages of this is the visibility and, of course, the fact that it increases knockback effects and things like that. Gives you a lot of survivability. It'll steal hearts from enemies that are inside of that zone, and its power increases when you're recovering HP. I like to think that the Whip is another really defensive kind of upgrade where you get Bloody Tear and it knocks enemies back and gives you lifesteal, as we talked about before. And I find that the difference between Garlic and Whip, they're both defensive, offensive items. The way that I like to put it is that Garlic is an defensive, offensive item, and Bloody Tear is offensively defensive. So it unfortunately just doesn't have enough damage in my mind to be as good as Garlic, although Garlic itself does have its damage drop off a lot. It's really about survivability and being able to get you to the late game. Its early game is very powerful, but in the very late game, it'll drop off a lot. For the last weapon, we have the upgrade to the birds, Ebony Wings and Peach One, or Peachone, and that creates Vandalier. This one is a unique situation in that all of the other upgrades are a weapon and a passive together, and you need a maximum weapon, but you don't need to have any upgrades on your secondary ability. That's different for this one because both halves of it are actually weapons. Now, the neat thing about that is that it means that once you get the Vandalier upgrade, it will actually open up another slot on the weapons for you so that you can just grab something else later on. Very powerful, really cool. The downside of that is you need to have both of those weapons all the way at their maximum level before it will allow you to unlock the Vandalier upgrade. The other thing about the Vandalier upgrade, it is the only evolved weapon that has its own upgrade tree. So pay very close attention to getting it. It is maybe the most powerful upgrade right now, although it does require more levels than anything else. And that's a short and sweet overview of Vampire Survivors version 0.2.9, some of the weapon upgrades, and a couple of the little secrets that they have added into the game to hopefully make your runs easier. I will make another video for you next week. Thank you everybody for stopping in. If you liked the video, like and subscribe, and of course stop on in to the Twitch stream. I'll be playing a lot more Vampire Survivors in the coming weeks, and I appreciate everybody being here and all of your support.